This is what community truly is. In a time of need, you really see who the givers are. It's not the people you expected. I'm going to tell you that right now, because it is not the people I thought that would have stepped up. It is the most unexpected heroes. And to me, that warms my heart more than anything. We were just kind of watching TV, relaxing, and I just got a text from a good friend of mine, Christine, and that her house was on fire, that the fire was hitting them. They were one of the first hit in the area in Santa Paula. So immediately we're texting and started texting, saying, come this way, bring the horses here. If you need to come here, you can come here. And then I immediately grabbed my computer and started watching what was going on social media. So I started reaching out to more in the ag community, friends saying, are you okay? Do you need a place to come? Come this way, come this way. At one point, realizing, seeing a friend texting in Adelanto that their house was on fire. And I was thinking, how did it get from Santa Paula that quickly to Adelanto? And the next I heard was the Atmores up at Two Trees property, that was on fire. And I knew it was going to come our way. But honestly, in your brain, you never believe it. You don't. We didn't believe it even when we left. So then the fire, it spread so rapidly. I kept thinking, where's the helicopters? They'll drop a couple loads on it and it'll be out. It won't get to us. There's thousands of acres between us and them. Within probably an hour, we kind of made a plan, and my boyfriend Chris said, I'm gonna lay down and wake me up. We figured we had 2 hours or so. He said, let me just sleep for a little bit. And I was trying to formulate a plan in my head, and all the power had gone out. I walked by my office and looked up thinking that we had 2 hours, and it was a matter of 15 minutes, and there's skylight above my office, the whole sky was red. And I went outside, and the hillside it was coming up the hillside above our ranch. Saucer-size ash was blowing on fire coming down the hill. The wind would kick up and little fireballs were kind of being thrown. And what we hear later, like the fire was jumping in 1 mile to 2 miles ahead of itself at a time. Helicopters and planes couldn't fly because of the wind. Immediately went in, woke him up, and said, we've got to get down and open the emergency gate. With power out, our electric gate wouldn't open. He opened that, came back up. We went back to get our tenants out of the back. Chris went out to wake up the other 2 tenants that lived on the property, and we had trouble getting everybody up and out. And by the time we got everyone up and out and realized the person in the upstairs unit wasn't actually home, she had texted she was coming back. We were saying, don't come back. And by the time that happened, we had time to pretty much get the dogs out and go. Going down the hill, I was the last one going down the hill out of our ranch, and I stopped and I thought, I can do this. I can go get those family pictures or that box with my grandma's crystal that had been handed down 4 generations from Italy, and those things. And I started to back up, watching those flames coming our way, and something hit the truck, and I got out, and something else fell in front of me, and I realized it was birds falling from the sky from smoke inhalation. I got in the truck and I said, I gotta go. And I said, there's gotta be a sign, like when it's time to go. I was thinking that, like, it's not time. And that was like, okay, that's a sign, thank you. And we left, driving and seeing the whole entire hillside of the avenue was on fire, and realizing quickly that we had to go, because the first thought was, Ojai's on fire. If it hits that neighborhood below on the avenue, we could be trapped in the middle of this. So we got off where we get off right near Main Street there on the avenue, and it was pure chaos. People were running, cars were lined up about halfway down the avenue trying to get in to the fairgrounds. People were running and screaming, holding their children, dragging their animals, carrying weird stuff, record players, albums, like some strange things, pictures, just running and yelling and screaming, and it was utter chaos and smoke you could barely see. So I texted my boyfriend Chris, said, we've got to go to Pierpont Inn, just park in the parking lot, and then we can figure it out. Could not find any information, had turned on the radio. KVTA Spence had jumped in, and he's my hero. He really was our lifeline, telling us what was going on. We heard that the Mission Church on Johnson was open. They took us in, put us in a room with our dogs. We have 2 big ranch dogs, so we could calm them and try to make a formulated plan. We put the dogs back in one of the vehicles, gave them the keys. They said, we'll take care of your dogs, and we went back up. And when we got back up, the house was fully inflamed. And I thought, I'm glad I didn't stay too long, because you heard all the ammo going off. And one of the neighbors even commented, said, was laughing and said, "How many guns did you guys have?" And you know, you don't think about things like that. And then the all your propane tanks for your barbecue and all that are just going off, and you realize how dangerous it is for those firefighters when they do come out on these calls, was my first thought. So we watched our house burn. Neighbors were pulling hoses in the little neighborhood. We have a little neighborhood that lies below us, and pulling out hoses and trickling, you know, water. You're hearing the story over and over again. This was on the avenue. Water is trickling out of the hoses, and they're trying to put out and save their neighbors' houses and make sure they're okay. And that was my concern. Our ranch is going to catch everybody on fire. Because you realize right behind us was the Lloyd property, which is a property that the Atmores manage. And on the other side is Cañada Larga. That was years and years of fuel, all in a drought situation. It was the perfect storm. So we helped a little, and then one of the neighbors' houses caught, and the trees go up. An avocado almost explodes when it catches. It just is, it's the most strange, just goes up, and realized this house was going. And I just said, we didn't have any fire trucks in the neighborhood. I don't think we saw one for 2 days. We had a small water tanker with 2 guys that I believe, just from watching them, looked like probably volunteer firefighters, God bless them, trying to do all they could. 3 houses were lost on that block below us, but the neighbors, I think, were credited for saving all the other homes in that neighborhood. We finally, just exhausted, went back to the shelter, got a hold of a friend, went to their house. The McGraths took us in out at their ranch. We were able to take a shower, sit, watch the news, and watch it unfold and hear what was going on.
A massive wildfire raging in Southern California is getting bigger. Authorities say high winds are feeding the Thomas Fire, helping it grow as it consumes just about everything in its path.
In Ventura County, the massive Thomas Fire showing no signs of slowing.
As soon as daylight we got the dogs settled, and thank God for the pound in Camarillo. They took the dogs in where we had rescued them, and it was a perfect sanctuary for them. There was no smoke. We were able to get them settled and not have to worry about that. We went back to the ranch, and for almost a week, every day, we spent most of our days filling up buckets in the neighbor's yard in the back of our truck and billy goating up every hill to put out spot fires because the wind was still raging. And every time it did, it sent up sparks. The poor neighborhood below us evacuated 3 times. Kicked up a fire to the right, to the left, and then to that wash was where I believe some of it spread over the hill and hit the other side of the freeway going towards Santa Barbara. And every neighbor right close near us was up there helping us, and friends showed up to help us. And we went up and just kept dumping buckets of water and digging them out and trying to break down trees that were still kind of burning. And this was neighbor helping neighbor because we were trying to save their homes now. We're up there, we've been working, you know, the second day I think it was, and here comes Magda from Fresh and Fabulous in Oxnard with a wagon full of sandwiches and food she'd made for everybody, and so she fed the neighborhood. Another guy, Matthew Couch in Camarillo, sent an Uber with water. The entire car of the Uber was filled with water. So there's this Uber driver driving around our ranch, and I was like, who called an Uber? And he was like, no, I bring you water. You have to hydrate. Those funny things, you know, that you will not forget, that quick thinking and people making sure we were okay. And, you know, as the days unfolded, it's just the realization that everything's gone. I mean, everything I own in the world. It's the memories of your children. That's the hardest, the little handprint they make in kindergarten, you know. I saved every card, every A, you know, those things. It's the box that contained my father's medals and the flag when he died that was on his casket. Those are the things, you know. And people say to me constantly, and we hear it constantly, they're just things. You know, they're just things, but they were my things.
This is the latest, a live picture of that Thomas Fire burning in Ventura County.
Lisa Siegel standing by live at the Ventura County Fairgrounds. That's
the command post location and a Red Cross evacuation center. And Lisa, you've talked to devastated homeowners about losing everything, huh?
Yeah, and one couple in particular, they have lost everything, but even through their tears, they are finding hope.
And there's just nothing. It's just ash and rubble. That's it.
It's called the Wicked Wire Ranch, but it's home to Kat Merrick and Chris Corsones. Now, fire has burned the 20-acre property, and their home gone.
Devastated. And every friend we talk to is in the same boat.
I'm feeling just overwhelmed.
In the early morning hours of Tuesday, they barely escaped the flames.
It's everything. Everywhere you looked, it was flames, and it was just going and going.
Taking with them only what they could.
And this is my daughter with Liam. This is my favorite picture in the world of them. And I was like, I have to have that as I was going out the door.
The photos and the mementos and the family heirlooms, they're gone and they're not coming back.
It is a devastating loss. The ranch, their dream, a place they could host events for their community nonprofit. They had tenants here they considered family, but most of all, their home was their sanctuary.
We're heartbroken. We've lost everything in the world.
Picking up the pieces is not going to be easy. In many ways, they are still trying to make sense of it all.
To think that we're going to be basically transient for that period of time is just a big, it's a big pill to have to deal with.
Kat and Chris say they will rebuild. They'll have their home and their sanctuary back.
We will rebuild and we'll make it better.
Things will grow again.
Yeah, they'll grow. They'll definitely grow again. We'll work hard to make sure that happens. I could care less about the clothes and although the nice collection of boots I had was pretty nice, but those kind of things. But it's really those memories that can't come back, those kind of things that are lost forever, and knowing you don't have those things to hand down to your children and to my grandchild, to be able to give him some of those things that were heritage things that were given to me. And then when you're making your list, you really realize all the special things, all the trips you've taken and collected things in antique stores and photos and pictures that have been gifted by artists over the years to me. My entire house had no commercial art. It was all people that were artists that had given me a gift. My knickknacks were from, an antique store in Egypt that I had found, or a trip to Italy, hand-painted pottery and friends that made pottery. And that's the stuff as you dig through the rubble and you sift. Those are things, they were so special. It's what made your home a home. And as you sit in a new home, temporary home, as everyone says, you're surrounded by none of that. And the loss of photos, no, I didn't upload them all to my Sky account because there's boxes and boxes and boxes. The pictures of my father when he was a baby, the pictures of my grandparents that had been handed down to me in antique frames are gone. And my great uncle's collection, he played for the Washington Senators baseball, and his baseball cards, which is gone. All the cards and the collections and his scrapbook of his history he had given to me for my son. Those are things that are kind of hard. As you look at your rebuilding stage and you're doing that, and people say, you'll be rebuilt, it'll be better. And I think it might look better, but all those memories won't be there. And everyone says, well, you haven't been here. And we do. But I think that's something important for people to understand, that you cannot replace some of those things. They're gone forever. What happened to us is devastating. And then watching everything unfold in Montecito became realizing that's horrific. And it really takes away that feeling sorry for yourself, when you realize we lost a firefighter, which was tragic. And the woman that died, I really thought there'd be more. I thought as they started clearing and going in homes, they were going to find more dead. And I'm unbelievably relieved that it was only 2 lives and not 20, or like Montecito. That's just, I can't even fathom that kind of feeling. So, we're a good family. My son came in, flew in immediately, my daughter to help. And we were up sifting and going through what we could. We found nothing. I mean, there's not much, You get excited over, the door knocker. You get excited over silly things that you find. But we went through and sifted, and out of that, my son ended up with a severe case of valley fever. We wore masks. I actually ordered the highest quality you could get, so we were wearing the right masks. He was hospitalized. He has a fungus ball in his lung the size of a baseball. And he's doing better. It'll be a 4 to 8 month recovery from it completely. And what you realize in that too is that we all need to be careful. We're going to be living with this a long time. Every time the wind blows, or people out thinking they can hike now, that's the thing that kills me. Even replanting, if you think your tree in your backyard is gone and you still get to live in your house and you start digging, you're digging in the soil that now everything has been uplifted.
And my biggest concern now is all the cases I'm hearing of valley fever being misdiagnosed for so long. That's what happened to my son. So we're dealing with that. It's day by day. I try to honor my tears and my feeling and my emotion because that's how you get through it. And someone said, "You might have PTSD." And I said, "Are you kidding?" Yeah, we all do. And everybody's story is unique and everybody's story is different, whether they lost their home or they did not, even though they went through it. We are such a tight-knit community. It would be unbelievable to find one person that isn't going to be affected by this. I try to just understand that every single way that we deal with this is unique. I heard this, from reporters, other media that, they were all here. And I had to say, yes, of course. They said, this is the most amazing community I've ever seen in my life. We cover a lot of this. This is national news people saying this is such a tight-knit community. What I think it did was it affected us all deeply because it was our neighbor. There's not anyone in this town that doesn't know somebody that lost their home. There's nobody in Montecito that doesn't know somebody that died. As a community, we rallied. We rallied bigger than anything you've ever seen. There was no real information chain. We were on our own. Locals jumped in and helped locals. We did the best we could. Poor firemen were stuck with no water, trying to put out fires, having to sit and wait for tankers to come up. And neighbors jumped in and started helping too. Our neighborhood alone wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the neighbors that jumped in, helping each other get through it daily. I hear the most amazing stories every single day of an angel or a hero that lives in this community, or people that feel affected that have visited us. People that have just visited us one time reach out and say, what can we do to help this community? Once we can understand the horrible negative of it and how impactful this was. The positive is that we look at it and we realize that we live in one of the strongest, most amazing communities in the world. And even when you look up at that hillside and it's charred and it's burned, it is beautiful. And yes, it'll grow back. We're seeing green with a little bit of rain. We're seeing that green come up and we're all getting excited over the little bit of green. And I think that we will build back and I think we'll just be stronger as a community. And we found our holes so that when this happens again, and we know it will, with the rains and things that'll come, that we now understand who we can rely on and hopefully have a clearer picture of how we rally faster and help quicker. So we just want to be home. We just want to be home. And the goal is to be able to get a modular home up there as fast as possible. That'll be the quickest thing, and that's still going to take us anywhere from 6 months to a year to make that happen. Once we can do that, our goal is to build back the rental units as quickly as possible so that they can come home. We were a family up there at the ranch, and we all watched out for each other, and we had friends. It was a place of community. We want to get it back. Our community garden that we had planted that was an education garden for students. This would have been our first year kind of bringing the students out there. We want to get that going, and that's our goal. And we know that it'll take us anywhere from 2 to 3 years to rebuild our home that we lived in, but we feel that that's secondary to getting our tenants, our farm family back in homes, and to kind of just getting the ranch going. It's going to take, the normal used to be 2 years for avocado trees, the wait list. Now it's 4. Once you get them, it's another 2 years for production. So we're looking at 6 years before our ranch will be in production stage. That's hopeful thinking. So irrigation, getting back living out there. And then we've been just cutting all the dead trees down, trying to get them out, making sure that it's secure again. We've had a ton of trouble with trespassers, looky-loos. They cut fence lines and came in. They ride motorcycles and been cutting in on the oil reefs and coming down, tearing up our trails. And so we've got to fix that because it's dangerous. We have valley fever, obviously, up there, so anytime you kick up dirt, sinkholes where the trees were, they can sink down up to 3 feet. So you could be walking off trail and step somewhere and end up in a 3-foot sinkhole. So we have to be mindful and keep telling people who say, why can't we go hike on there? You're not living up there. And we're like, seriously? Let me give you the long list, So it's a long haul. We're in for it. And, the first thought was just let's get rid of it, just be done. And the minute we went back up there the next day, even though stuff was still burning and it was like, this is our home. We can't go. We worked way too hard to get where we were with this ranch. Yeah, we cut into the hill. It's a tiered hillside we live in. So irrigation's tricky. It's not just laying a flat line. It's going to be a really big endeavor, just replacing all the irrigation. We're lucky we have a well. We're waiting on that to be tested to make sure everything's secure with that. So we do have water. That was one of the big advantages of the property. So as soon as we can get irrigation going, we can get water flowing. And, you know, as they say, when water flows, food grows. So we're really hoping to make that happen first and foremost, is to get things planted, get the vegetable garden going, and then worry about getting back there and living back there. Immediately within 2 days of the fire and realizing what we personally were going through, the realization the second day was trying to find housing. We were offered a lot, but they didn't want our big ranch dogs. And immediately just started handing them off to other people I knew that had lost their home. I totaled up initially 61 people that I knew that were friends that lost their home. So started reaching out saying, here's these houses, here's these houses. We have insurance, so I knew that it was going to cover for us. Some people had offered us free stays for 6 months. I gave those to people that I knew that were uninsured, trying to get them into a place, especially ones with families, kids, because sleeping on a couch with a family of 3 just doesn't really work. I saw very, very quickly a need, and that need was to start helping and be active and activate. And we realized, obviously, through social media, that's how we found out what was going on. We found out what was happening with our friends, and we found out, go here, do this. We were telling each other. Totally Local VC, my organization, my nonprofit, Totally Local VC Agricultural Education Foundation, is a 501c3, so I knew we could activate, take in donations, and start helping. The problem was on the page, I knew that my personal page was going to be the way to be able to communicate. Most of the people on there are friends. I know everybody that is a friend on my social media page, so they're pre-vetted. So if I'm going to ask them for help or I'm going to let them come near a family that's lost anything, I know these individuals. So we immediately started saying, what's the need? Here's what can be done. Here's what you can do to help. Here's how you can fix it. And the Local Love Project was born. My son and a friend came up with a GoFundMe. When I saw it, I was horrified because I was like, no. It wasn't something for me. But I said, I'll agree to it if we give it to the community. So they came up with the 805 Strong. And we decided to do the 805 Strong and start raising those funds. Local Love was going to be Totally Local VC. And we met with Chris Collier over at Thomas Fire Help and Emily. And then the Masons in Ventura brought us in and said, let's all sit at a table and get organized and collaborate together. So everyone's helping each other, and we streamline this confusion. So we would help feed Thomas Fire Help all the information we could. They would feed us any information we knew to, and we all started kind of collaborating. The Masons Lodge opened up and allowed Ventura Strong to come in and do a pop-up shop. We went in and helped where we could with that. Our entire goal was to be able to one-on-one with these people. First immediate is crisis. So you need basically a crisis bag. You need to be able to change your clothes, take a shower, and at least a blanket to sleep. We got donations through our networking. We were able to get donations from American Airlines, Procter & Gamble, Nike, Patagonia. The list is a mile long. Gold Coast Acura reached out to me, didn't even know the man, said, what can I do to help? I've got warehouse space you can put all that stuff in. We were able to develop a warehouse space and use his vans and trucks to do deliveries. So we started delivering immediately to Help of Ojai, Upper Ojai Relief, Santa Barbara Outreach, the Organic Soup Kitchen in Santa Barbara. We even took 300 blankets to the Red Cross when they ran out of blankets, and they came and got another batch 2 days later. And we took food supplies to them as well. As they came in, we made sure they had, and the crisis bags also, probably 600 crisis bags went to Red Cross. We started working individually, one-on-one with families, and we knew the fastest and easiest way was to connect those people with the need of the family. So a group could say, I can buy a set of towels, another can buy a pair of shoes for somebody. It didn't tax you individually. We took care of that family, and we just kept going and going and going and going. And then we would pull from our warehouse of goods to fill in where the need was. We would make a list almost daily of what was needed and start again with the networking and the phone calls out to ask letters to anybody we could to get more donations. We filled the warehouse 3 times over again. We had supplies of shovels, work gloves. We were dropping off everywhere we could for anybody having to sift. We got sifters donated, and we just kept it going. And to date, we have been able to do a long list. Initially, the one-on-one, through the Ventura Strong individual, putting that on. We were able to help over 400 who came through. We realized quickly there, you needed a vetting process. We created a vetting process. We have a list of 289 as of yesterday that are activated people that actually show up at our pop-ups that we have helped in some way or another. The communication line stays strong. Whenever we hear sign up for this, like United Way is giving another round of donations, they get an e-blast from us telling us how to do it and a step-by-step how to go out and get those funds. They contact us if they need help with that, and we try to help them individually because that becomes, we feel like zombies and somebody needs to help you. During the holidays, we were able to take in 400 donations of gifts, brand new gifts, and distribute those to children who had lost their home, not just in Ventura County, Ventura, Santa Paula, Ojai, and also Santa Barbara County. Santa and Mrs. Claus visited Crown Plaza, opened up their doors to us. They were phenomenal. They let us have a gift wrapping party in their rooms downstairs. They helped us also distribute these toys through some of the hotels throughout the county. The toys went to families that had lost their home that were still staying there. They all got a gift, and every one of them got a stocking in their room on Christmas Eve, and also firefighters and first responders that were staying there. We took the balance of the gifts up to Santa Barbara to some of the outreaches there to kind of finish off the holidays. Then we started the backpack program. 168 backpacks were stuffed and filled with school supplies and went out to students so they could go back to school and have needed items. And from there, we've done pop-ups. Patagonia was very, very generous. Help of Ojai covered Patagonia for people in Ojai. We covered Ventura, Santa Paula, and now the slide victims. We've been doing that along with now Volcom, Electra, and some of the other companies stepped up again, and Patagonia, and some of them. And we'll be doing something with the junior high students, 37 families at Cabrillo Middle School who lost everything. We're going to be working with them. And Zappos stepped up with these wonderful gift cards for those students. From there, we go to the Quilting Guild. This is a great one. I get excited about this. The local Ventura Quilting Guild is doing 300 quilts. 5 countries, 48 states are making quilts for us that lost our homes, and they'll be gifted to individuals. And we're going to help them with distribution of those to families. It was funny, I ran into a friend and she said, "Are you at least crocheting?" Because she knows I like to crochet and knit. And I said, "Well, I lost everything." And I went to Michael's and they were sold out of crochet needles. Massive box shows up on my front porch full of yarn, beautiful yarn and needles. And I was like, what am I gonna do with all this? And I just happened to put it out there. I'm gonna start crocheting scarves and giving them to people who lost their home. And now I've got about 60 friends that are making scarves that they will give to people as well. It goes on daily and it changes every single day. There's a new project. And we just say the Local Love Project every single day. We keep continuing and continuing. The donations poured in financially. We've tried to limit those because we try to do it in product. Every time we get funds that come in, though, many local businesses, Cronies, Winchester's Grill, there's a local deer association that's given us funds, and so many individuals wrote checks. That money has all gone into a kitty that goes into immediate food cards. So whether it's a Winco, Vaughn, something like that, depending on where the person lives, we try to figure out where the closest grocery store is for them. We gift them those cards, or we use it to fill in supplies. We were donated cribs, but they needed mattresses and sheeting. So we were able to go purchase those needed items and put them for the family. And it's all locals helping locals, and we call it the Local Love because it's all of us putting our hands out to help. And as they say, the many hands can do so much. I wake up every night about 3 or 4, the witching hour, and I lay there awake and I think about everything that needs to be done and what we can be doing and what we have to do personally to replace our home and our valuables, and I don't sleep. You know, I lay there and I write it all down, and then I go back to sleep for a while, or I cry, or I do whatever needs to be done. And what really hit me was the night at 4 a.m., and I had to say a thank you for waking up at 4 a.m. I got the text message from Island Packers that they had a boat, and we would be able to go to Montecito to help those people. So we were able to pack the boat full of first response crisis bags, and we were able to take brand new shoes up from Mile 26 had donated, and Nike shoes, and we went and had socks that we had purchased to go with it. So we were able to take everything up, and American Airlines first class pajamas, which are a t-shirt and a t-shirt pants. It was 6 to 10 foot swells. 70% of the boat was throwing up. It's the first time I've ever gotten seasick. I realized that being awake at 4 in the morning enabled me to be awake for that text, which I would not have seen, and we would not have been able to respond so fast. So I try to just take every lesson and let my brain, my body, and the universe just keep guiding me what we need to do. There's so many angels and heroes out there. If you looked at the long line standing right behind me, I'm the face and the mouth of it all, but I'm telling you, if you saw time and time again, David Swaffer has been there. That man almost died 1.5 years ago. He had to have a liver transplant, kidney transplant, and every single thing I'm doing, he's standing beside me. Deanna Davidson, who only had lived on my ranch 2 days and lost everything she owned in the world, she's standing right there too, helping. And there's a lot of us that lost our homes that are helping. And there's a lot that didn't. We just have to remember that this is what community truly is. In a time of need, you really see who the givers are. It's not the people you expected. I'm going to tell you that right now, because it is not the people I thought that would have stepped up. It is the most unexpected heroes. And to me, that warms my heart more than anything.